Good morning and welcome to the Attract online conference. I'm Romain Muller and I'm joining you from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm actually an EU project officer here at CERN and I will be your host today. I will guide you through the program, the sessions and the activities that we have prepared for you. And who are you? Checking this morning on the registration website, you are coming from more than 55 countries, still a lot, and for a total of close to 900 registered participants. So very welcome to all of you. This is a great sign that our conference and its theme has raised a great interest. So let's together ignite the deep tech revolution. Some of you might know what is deep tech, some of you might not. So I will share with you a first definition that will be refined through the day with a different interaction that you will see with the different speakers. So deep tech relates to technology that require a high level of scientific knowledge to be developed and high investment cost to be transformed into products that can reach global markets. But when they do, they have a large impact on society. So this is really worth looking into what deep tech can do also for the European citizens. So the challenge of deep tech, simply put, is to go from science to innovation. But trust me, this is easier said than done. And you will see today that there are a lot of elements that need to be put together to achieve exactly this. But you will also learn that there are some initiatives that are exactly doing this today, going from deep tech to market. And Attract, which gives its name to the conference, is one of them. So what is Attract, you might ask yourself. So Attract is an Horizon 2020 project funded by the European Commission and steered by the Consortium of research infrastructures, universities, and industry. Research infrastructures have for mission to push the limits of scientific knowledge on key questions such as the origin of the universe, the cartography of space, the biology of living spaces, and many more questions. So how these scientific efforts to create new knowledge can actually also help create new innovation that benefits society. So here is a video that will give you some more hints.
Can you imagine a device helping doctors to prevent disease before it actually happens? Can you imagine using sensors to help the visually impaired navigate the world? Can you imagine green cities, where smart sensors let you know about the best products ready to eat? Attract is the starting point for getting science out into society, transforming new ideas into concrete solutions for a better future. The Attract project has committed 17 million euros to funding 170 breakthrough detection and imaging ideas with market potential, and has created a bridge between scientists, companies, and young entrepreneurs. For the first time, Europe's top research organizations have come together to push the boundaries of innovation, to promote job creation, growth, and a better society for all.
Today you will have the chance to know more about Attract from the people who are working on it, and including as well the 170 project representatives. So if you have a taste for the future and future technologies, I really invite you to dive into the portfolio of these 170 projects and breakthrough ideas that they represent. So Attract will be our fil rouge of the conference, and in a way it will be our starting point to explore with the invited speakers that we have gathered for this conference the following questions that are really the three main questions for the conference. So what are the existing initiatives promoting deep tech in Europe? How can deep tech change our future? And which ecosystems are needed to ensure that deep tech gets to market? So talking about creating or expanding ecosystem is also exactly what this conference should be about. And this is why we have split the program into two main parts. So the conference until today at 4, that you're invited for sure to follow from now up to 4. And then as from today at 4 until tomorrow at 6, you will have the chance to meet each other. And it's really what we meant when we have the concept of the conference, is that you have one-to-one virtual meeting, think of Zoom, with other participants to the conference. So now I will show you a couple of slides to help you really navigate the virtual environment that we have put together for you. And so I invite you to follow what you're going to see on screen, and I will mention what you have to do and where you can look for the corresponding information that I will share with you. So for this, for actually networking with the other participants, you need to be registered. So from where you're watching now the webcast, there is exactly this slide that you see now, the upper menu. And you just click on the register now, and after some steps, you will be registered to the conference. Then once registered, simply go on the tab Participants, again on the same upper menu. And there you can filter and browse participants when there is a mention that they are available. So here is a screenshot. I blurred the names just for confidentiality, but what you see is available. So when those participants are marked as available, it means that you can book meeting with them. And this one-to-one virtual meeting I was referring to. You can send them a message or actually directly request a meeting. This is a very intuitive process. So I invite you to go through this. If needed, you will see here on the bottom right of the screen, there is this little icon that will guide you to a help desk that will answer your questions for you to really get a smooth process of getting into this virtual environment. So now maybe what you want to do is also browse the 170 project of Attract, because indeed, as I mentioned, they are very future-looking and forward-looking. So this is really something that would be of interest to you, I guess. So in this one, there are two options. So the first one is you go to the marketplace, and then you can select project cooperation directly after this. And then you will see all the Attract projects. And on this basis, also the name of the person which is linked to this project. Again, there it's blurred because of confidentiality reason. Just remember the name of the person, because when you click on the project itself, you will actually be guided to the webpage of the organization. So there might be some other people than the person that you want to target. So just remember, and when you go to the other page, then just click on the profile of this person to do exactly the same. Send a message or send a request for a one-to-one meeting. The second option to go and browse the 170 projects of Attract is what we call the Attract showroom. So you find it in the home. So again, on the upper menu, just go to home, which is the first choice. And then in the second menu, you go Attract showroom. And what you will find there is a very visually prepared repository of all the documentation available publicly for the 170 projects. So there again, go there, browse and filter and find the projects which are of most interest to you. Also, don't worry, there are going to be some videos on this functionality which is going to be played during the coffee breaks and the lunch break. So if you missed a bit what I shared now, come back for the breaks and then the videos will be rolling and then you have the chance to look at them once again and make sure that you have the steps to follow to get to checking this 170 project and also interfacing with the other participants. And don't forget, you have to be registered for this. Anytime you want to come back to the streaming, because indeed we're going to have a very nice program displayed for you today. Same upper menu, go to the live stage. And this is where we are with the webcast. So this is really the place to be for watching us. And what you will have also on this live stage, and you should be seeing this already now, is either on the right of the webcast or below the webcast, depending on which device you are using. There will be what we call a Slido window where you could share your questions to the speakers, because we really want also your input. So it's not only us sharing with you information and knowledge, but also we would like that you trigger us with your question. And this is really what this is being developed for. Just be sure if you don't want your name to appear, don't write your name, don't register. Don't log in or don't register in this particular window to make sure that you stay anonymous with your questions displayed then after to the other speakers. So this is what I wanted to share with you on this virtual environment we have created. Of course, it would be another ball game if it was a physical event, but I think it's really important that now you realize all the functionalities you have to interact with each other, discover the project, and I'll be repeating this through the day because this is really part of the dynamic that we want to create. So now let's come back to the program of the day. And here is a video that will show you what's waiting for us as from now. So as you've seen, we have a full and interesting program through the day. So I really invite you to stay at the morning and as well as the afternoon session. That will be my role as well. And not only this, but I really invite you, as I said, to reach to other participants, to browse the project, to ask questions to the speakers. It's really an invitation. So they're taking the steps to join the ecosystem that we have in front of us. And that's really what we want also within Attract, is to create an ecosystem. And within Attract and even beyond. So this is our invitation to you today. And that's why the conference has been designed for this. Indeed, we all have our part to play in igniting the deep tech revolution. So now let's move on to the welcome addresses for this meeting, for this conference. We'll have 4 high-level speakers who will now share their welcome address to you, the participants of the conference. 2 speakers will come from the European institutions. 2 speakers will come from the Attract project. And the idea is that really their welcome address set us in the right context, in the right insights for all us to embark into this journey that we have in front of us today with the conference, and to have really a mix of insights on research, technology, and innovation. We first welcome Jean-Éric Paquet, Director General, Research and Innovation at the European Commission. He couldn't be with us today because he's launching his own event, the EU Research and Innovation Days. However, he was very kind to share with us this video that he recorded for us.
Well, good morning. It's for me a pleasure, a privilege to be able to participate, even if remotely, physically, and in time, to the opening of the Attract conference. The Attract project has been genuinely groundbreaking. I think it is the first time that we so openly together connect science and innovation, which are often seen as different worlds, but where in Europe's research policy we are increasingly, I think, successful in promoting that connection and having around Europe's most spectacular research infrastructure the capacity to see your teams, your researchers, your youth coming together and presenting today now 170, I hope, groundbreaking innovations is truly remarkable. It really anticipates, I hope, quite a lot what we will see increasingly in the next phase in Horizon Europe, in the new European research area, where innovation will be very visible. It is, I think, very much in line with the way Maria Gabriel and his teams in the Commission are promoting research as knowledge and solutions for COVID-19 recently, and of course now for our transitions. The climate transition, the digital transition will require even more solutions which come from science and its knowledge, and then often, and more often than ever, will translate into practical solutions, notably on the innovation path. So maybe my first message would be to the To those of you responsible in CERN and in other research organizations of the project, colleagues, thank you very much. Well done. This was really, as said, particularly remarkable. I would also like to say that I'm very myself frustrated not to be there throughout the conference and see so much of these 170 groundbreaking ideas. I will of course look into it, and I will certainly get a sense of where you are all going from the outstanding science which you master into these ideas which will be relevant for society. Now, what of course also now happens during the conference is that you have the European Innovation Council. Jean-David Malot is part of the conference, and his teams helped set it up. And I think the event today should really allow all of you to interact, connect also with investors, and see whether we can, with a number of EU instruments, but also instruments which are available largely at national level, whether we can engage with you and see whether your ideas and your companies could indeed be brought to the next level. The EIC is very much around deep tech. You are deep tech. And why have we decided to focus the EIC on deep tech? Because we believe that firstly, this is one of Europe's competitive edges. I mean, engineering and science are European. Admittedly not only, but they are deeply European. And connecting this wealth of excellence, of expertise with innovation path is what the EIC is all about. We have piloted the accelerator now over the last 18 months. And I think even within the team of the EIC, within Jean-David's teams, we are surprised by the take-up. We have had billions of euros of requests for funding and financing. But more important, if I look at what is excellent, what has been assessed as being excellent innovations, anchored in science, providing deep tech solutions, the request for funding and financing is overwhelming. And we are, to a large extent, with Horizon Europe's budget, certain to be largely overwhelmed with great ideas and great innovation. That's a challenge for you coming to us. It's probably an asset for us in terms of choice, but it demonstrates that this deep tech revolution is at play, and particularly, and I want to say particularly, I don't want to say also, particularly in Europe. And I think the conference will demonstrate that. And again, I very much hope that many of your 170 projects will be able to develop further, and that today's event will be remembered by many of you as a key moment, allowing indeed this scaling up, possibly also through the European Innovation Council. So, dear participants, dear colleagues, again, thank you very much for joining in great numbers. I wish you a very fruitful conference, and I'm very much looking forward to follow many of these projects over the next few years. Thanks to all of you.
Stop. Thank you, Mr. Paquet. And this has been very nice words of appreciation of the work that has been done for Attract. And I'm sure that all the Attract committees, all the person that were behind Attract, also in the European Commission, also the 170 project, the students which were involved, were really, really appreciating those words from Mr. Paquet. So now we have the chance and the pleasure to welcome Mrs. Kaili. So Mrs. Eva Kaili is a member of the European Parliament, and she's also the chair of the Committee for Future of Science and Technology. So welcome, Mrs. Kaili, and thank you for joining us this morning. The promotion of innovation is really close to your heart, and this is really an invitation for this conference, which is linked to a deep tech revolution. And so we're really, really looking forward to your views and insights of deep tech in more general on technology and innovation in Europe. Thank you in advance.
Thank you for having me, and I want to wish you to have an excellent conference. It's really already high level from what I saw, and it's really important to have the scientific community discussing on upcoming exponential technologies, and especially deep technologies that could and are already a revolution, but they need time for us to understand the whole impact they might have. And it takes time also to be market ready in terms of maturity. But they can provide us with solutions to even global problems, and also tools to shape our world for the future. And it includes the top priorities we now have in Europe. So from artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, material science, infant biotech, until quantum computing and supercomputers. So we have already changed the prism from where we see things and the way forward in Europe. During this pandemic, we realized that only with new technologies we could resolve the problems we faced, and we could overcome the barriers we saw we had. Because in this world, with the globalization taking place, actually, for these challenges, there are no barriers. The barriers we have are the friction we created among us in the single market that we're trying to achieve, and we have to remove in order to take advantage of the maximum of these technologies. We definitely have to understand also the geopolitics of the new technologies and find the position of Europe in this world. In US, we have, I think, doubled the AI scientists that we have in US, 4 times more in US than in China. And still in Europe, we invest much more on research. What we have not been managing very well is to connect research to the market. And we have not developed a lot of industry here. We sometimes it's difficult to invest a lot in the industry when you have the traditional technologies being convenient for our business models, and also when you have the friction among us with physical barriers we have, and 27 different tax and legal systems, and also different languages. So what we're trying to do now is the upcoming months, we're expecting the regulation that will give us legal certainty to explore and invest even more in this technology. So we're increasing the budget of investments, but at the same time, trying to remove the barriers. We have been trying to introduce, let's say, GDPR plus, data strategy, data governance. So we make good quality of data available to scientists and startups and entrepreneurs in order to create and enhance competition, to have a more vivid environment for entrepreneurs. We also try to do it in the same time that we are working on the artificial intelligence. Now we just have the white paper, but we're expected to have the ethical guidelines that very briefly actually trying to achieve transferring the human rights to the digital world. So protecting human rights the way Europe has always been doing, to talk about rules, about responsibility and liability, obligations, how to avoid harmful AI, how to make sure that citizens will have the proper digital skills, they will not be left behind, they will not be excluded from these future technologies. So we are expecting these files, and hopefully we will manage also to remain globally competitive. We may lack unicorns, but we are definitely doing excellent in science and startups. The unicorns require a big market, and this is also what we are working on. The same time, I think with GDPR, we showed what is our vision. We need a human-centric, deep technologies and innovation. And I think that if somebody can achieve that, that would be Europe, because you see in China, you have to balance, actually there is no balance there for privacy or safety. They have access to unlimited data, fully controlled by the government. In EU, what we want to have is both privacy and safety. We want citizens to feel they can trust the system, they can trust the government, and they will be protected. They will not be excluded by a system that could rank them, exclude them from loans, from their insurance companies, or discriminate them in any way. I have launched a few months ago, just before the pandemic actually, the Center for Artificial Intelligence. So this is where we are doing assessments, studies for every aspect of that's being impacted by new technologies and artificial intelligence, the convergence with artificial intelligence. We're trying also to be prepared with scientific data for MEPs, for politicians, to do the right legislation on time. And we are already working with OECD, trying to find a way to coordinate in order to achieve, to have global standards for artificial intelligence, so that we get it right from the beginning and not try to fix things later on. Still, we feel we have the control, we have the vision, we have the tools, we have to find the method that we will proceed. And a final thing, we have been having a program where we exchange some days our views with scientists. We spend some time together. And I remember one thing very clearly. First of all, they raised my concern and awareness on where AI is taking us a few years ago and what they can achieve. And I remember one scientist, he told me, we can take science at any level we want. So it would be great if we had like the guidelines, the legal certainty, and we would know where Europe wants to lead. So I believe science can achieve the best solutions, green technologies that would improve our quality of life, that would save lives. What we need to do is to give them the proper funding, access to quality of data, and make sure that all citizens will benefit from that. So I really want to wish you a very fruitful conversation, and I hope you can contact us with all your ideas or your suggestions during the next year, where we're gonna form the ground to invest even more in these exponential technologies. Thank you.
Indeed, also in the DNA of Attract, to create an ecosystem, and around it also data is one of the key technology which is being developed. And so we really believe that creating an ecosystem also favors dialogues, and this is also very stimulating to see that policy can go hand in hand with technology, and that indeed with great powers comes great responsibilities. So thanks again for having addressed this conference with these forward-looking views, and all the best with the regulation in preparation on your side. Thank you again. So as I said, we had the privilege to have two speakers from the European institutions giving their views on Attract and on policy in general related to science, technology, and innovation. So now it's time to come to Attract and to meet two speakers who have been from the very beginning in the inception of what Attract is today. Or maybe it's different than what they thought of, but at least they've really been instrumental in coming to what the project is today. That's part of the project life in a way. So first we welcome Dr. Michael Krisch. So Michael is the chair of the Attract Project Consortium board, and is as well the scientist in charge of the biomedical beamline ID17 at European Synchrotron Radiation Facility, ESRF, which is a partner of Attract. He was as well the former head of the Instrumentation Services and Development Division, also at ESRF. Michael, welcome to this conference, and we're really looking forward to what you're going to share with us on Attract.
Thank you very much, Roman. Thank you very much to the previous speakers to have wonderfully set the scene. A warm welcome as well from my side on behalf of the Attract Project Consortium board that I have really the pleasure and privilege to chair. It's truly a great moment. It's a moment we have been hoping for and waiting for a long time, since the Attract idea has been born sometime around 2014. And let me just share with you a little bit of the history of Attract and how we conceived and designed Attract and what brought us today here in this remote conference. Attract was basically motivated by the general observation that European research infrastructures, their national counterparts, and their associated user communities are pretty good in producing excellent science, are at the cutting edge and frontier of science, but many of the science enabling technologies, often beyond the current state of the art, do not make it to the market and therefore are not really exploited for the benefit of society. And therefore, the idea of Attract was to establish a formal framework to transforming breakthrough technologies being developed for pursuing often fundamental research at the outset into breakthrough innovations with strong industrial application and, more importantly, ultimately, of added value for society. This brought together 6 European research infrastructures, part of IRO-Forum, the European Intergovernmental Research Organization Forum, more specifically the European Organization for Nuclear Research, better known under CERN, the European Molecular Biology Laboratory, the European Southern Observatory, the European Synchrotron Radiation Facility, the European X-ray Free Electron Laser, and the Institut Lau-Langevin. These research infrastructures in the consortium are complemented by the European Industrial Research Management Association, EIRMA, to provide the link with European industry, and Aalto University and ESADE, leading institutions in challenge-based design thinking to provide methodologies for successful implementation of the open innovation process. So from the very outset, the Attract Consortium defined 3 ambitious goals. A, to streamline the breakthrough innovation process by coupling research infrastructures and their large communities to partners that are good and trained to extract societally relevant and or commercially interesting innovations from them. To introduce an innovation approach in which the scientific and industrial communities jointly pursue and generate breakthrough innovation in close and equal partnership, with the ultimate goal to generate potential breakthrough innovations to the benefit of society. We were very grateful, lucky and happy that the Attract Phase 1, which is running currently and comes to its end, received funding from the EC within the Horizon 2020 program. And as you know, the consortium launched an open call for proposals in the field of detection and imaging technologies. This is 1.5 years ago only, and I still very lively remember the Attract Phase 1 kickoff meeting in May 2019. I had the feeling already at that time that things might go in the right direction. The Attract open call received a very high resonance. There were more than 1,200 proposals for the 100 kilo euro seed funding. The selected 170 projects gather partners from 19 countries, well covering the European research area and covering, moreover, the full spectrum from universities over research technology organizations, research infrastructures, small and medium-sized enterprises, and even to a small extent, large industrial corporations. Now today, it is impressive to see the breadth of societally relevant themes such as health, communication, energy, environment, and others covered by these funded 170 projects. Just to mention one example, 24 funded projects are directly linked to cancer research, one of the missions of the next framework program, Horizon Europe. And I invite you really to visit the showrooms of these 170 projects today, but as well later on the Attract web pages. Today, we are close to the end of Attract Phase 1. And unfortunately, in the lapse of only 16 months, the world has changed in a dramatic way. The COVID crisis has decelerated progress of the 170 Attract projects. You have been impacted, but it has not stopped you. Project partners continue to work hard and they adapted to the situation. The results, as we will see today, are impressive. An amazing quality of the conducted work, already now leading to publications in high impact scientific journals. Some projects already triggered additional funding, both private and public. Some of the projects are at such an advanced stage already that they consider commercialization. I would like to mention as well, this is not only about the 170 projects. What is unique to Attract is as well that we provided opportunities for developing the talent of about 100 young innovators that, inspired by the deep tech from the funded projects, prototype solutions to tackle the present and future societal challenges. Here again, I invite you to visit our web pages and more specifically, the Students Project Showroom. Let me now turn to the future. Attract Phase 1 is only the first step in the envisaged new open innovation cycle. Phase 1 focused on feasibility studies, technical readiness levels typically between 1 and 2, with a high risk of failure, with the aim to efficiently and rapidly distill the most promising projects and give them the opportunity in a second phase to demonstrate that their technology is viable and can result in a clear product or service proposition. We're talking about technology readiness levels between 5 and 7. This is the scope of Attract Phase 2. If funded, the aim of the Attract Consortium, in line with what the European Commission expects, will continue enabling opportunities based on the most promising outcomes of Attract Phase 1. Attract Phase 2 would also provide, this time, up to 400 young innovators the opportunity, methodologies, and mentoring for developing novel concepts and prototypes of technological solutions addressing societal challenges in collaboration with the funded project. Attract Phase 2 will also undertake serious efforts for exploring the possibility of blending public and private financing in an open dialogue with their respective stakeholders in order to provide future models to streamline innovation funding in Europe. The successful completion of Phase 2 would then be the experimental proof of the formation of an innovation ecosystem made of different types of organizations, publicly funded RIs, privately funded commercial entities, universities, national and regional development agencies, with different rationales and economic modalities, but with one common aim to overcome the so-called innovation valley of death. These are not wild dreams. Attract Phase 2 is around the corner. The proposal was submitted in March this year, and we hopefully expect a positive response very soon, likely in October this year. I am personally very optimistic, and I very much hope that Attract has a future beyond the 30th of November, the end of the Attract Phase 1. Let me as well underline that Attract is a concept and therefore is not limited to detection and imaging technologies. I can easily imagine that this concept can be generalized to cover other areas that are critical for the future of our society and planet, such as health, energy, environment, smart materials, and many others. We need, however, now to consider an additional element which we did not have on the radar when we thought about Attract. The recent past has taught us that we not only have to accelerate the process from fundamental science to benefit for society, but furthermore, we have to fully exploit the enormous innovation potential of research in general in order to be prepared for and even anticipate future crisis situations. We therefore need, more than ever, disruptive breakthrough innovations and technologies to ensure a sustainable future. We need to bring together the brightest mind in Europe and other parts of the world, working together beyond their own interests, beyond any borders, and beyond any other constraints. In fact, I believe that European research infrastructures are a good example of how European science and technology sovereignty is compatible with openness outside Europe's frontiers, since openness constitutes a core value of us Europeans. You who are with us today are in the pole position. Use this opportunity to interact with the project participants, establish synergies, establish collaborations, and attract the attention and appetite of investors in industry for a bright and attractive future. I wish to finish with a few acknowledgements. We are very grateful to the European Commission, which fully financed the Attract Phase 1 project. in the frame of Horizon 2020. I would like to take the opportunity more specifically to thank Philippe Froissart, at the time Deputy Head of the Research Infrastructures Unit in DG Research and Innovation at the Commission, our Project Officer Patricia Postigo-McLaughlin, the Legal Officer Consolacion Moreno, and their colleagues for their excellent guidance and advice. Philip moved on, Patricia and Consolacion are still with us, and we are looking forward to a fruitful collaboration with Johannes Klumpers, who is now Head of the Research and Industrial Infrastructure Units at the EC. We're equally looking forward to seize opportunities to collaborate with the European Innovation Council, namely with Jean-David Malot, Fabienne Gauthier, and their colleagues. A big thanks to the Attract Project Administration Office for a fantastic job throughout the project. My colleagues from the Project Consortium Board, the Independent Committee, and the Project Advisory Committee, and all the colleagues from the Attract Consortium for a fantastic collective effort. Thank you all, because Attract, this is you, your projects, your ideas, your inspirations, your support, and your hard work. I wish you all an enjoyable and successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for these really inspirational words, and also for setting up the scene of where is Attract coming from, and also its original aspiration, and still today, a very fresh also outlook for the future. So thanks for these words, and for sharing this also helicopter view in a way, citing all the different actors, also the different application domain that Attract is covering, and also all the different stakeholders involved. So I think for those who are watching us, this is also, and who are not so much knowledgeable about Attract, this is really, really an ecosystem initiative. And we really want to bring everyone along to come from science to actually innovation. And as I said before, it's something which is not so easy to do. It's easier said than done. And this is why there was a hard work. And that's what also Michael mentioned, a very hard work being put in the last years, and hopefully also hard works in the years to come to go towards the original aspiration of Attract as a program. So now we are joined by our fourth welcome address speaker. So it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Sergio Bertolucci, who is the chair of the Attract R&D&I committee. So if you're asking yourself what it is, it's the committee who independently reviewed more than 1,200 proposals that were received at the first Attract call, and that down selected 170, which is now the project that you can see, the project portfolio that you can see on the showroom that Michael was mentioning, or also on the marketplace on the conference website. So Sergio is a professor at the University of Bologna and a former scientific director at CERN. He's the co-author of 370 papers and contributed to the development of innovative instrumentation that led to major scientific discoveries. So Sergio, welcome to this conference. It's really a pleasure to have you on board. And I just have a simple question for you. Why creating a breakthrough ecosystem in the field of detection and imaging?
Well, in these very fast transforming times, we have just to choose an enabling technology and ecosystem, and the deep tech in imaging and sensor is the basis of the famous Internet of Things, because it's changing our life already in a very substantial way. We can see it from today, because there is this convergence of many technologies which are transforming our life, sometimes in a way which poses big questions. So the choice of this technology was very natural, considering where it was coming from research infrastructure, for its obvious potential just to generate and then be transferred to society in a very natural way. Of course, as you said, and was repeated by many of the speakers, which I thank for their enlightening comments and reflection, it's more easy to say than to do. And Attract is one of the ways which we have used just to facilitate and to speed up this process. Let me now just go to my part of the talk, which in a sense, in order not to make it repetitive and useless, I'm forced just to go into some reflection, which I offer to the community, not because I have solution, but because I think they could be a part of a starting point for a deeper elaboration. We talk very much today about deep tech and technological sovereignty. And I liked very much the definition of technological sovereignty, which in itself is a rather large concept, which might be even confusing. And by using exactly the definition that the President, Ursula von der Leyen, gave, which is the capability that Europe must have to make its own choices based on its own values and respecting its own rules. This is, in my opinion, a very, very linear extension of what is written in the European Constitution, in the treaty establishing a constitution of Europe, where Europe was defined as a continent wishing to remain open to culture, learning, and social progress. Remain open. And these two words had me reflect. Open is the thing which attracted first my attention, because open was the concept of openness was what was at the backbone of one of the success story of Europe. Europe has made has generated in the last years, in the last many years, as a matter of fact, starting immediately at its reconstruction time after World War II, has generated a very original model how you do science. And it has generated what we have, which is the European Research Area. It has been implemented just creating an environment which was open not only to Europe, but to the world, where was enabling free circulation of researchers, scientific knowledge, technologies, and ideas. And we have offered it to as an original model to all the world, proving that you can harmonize in the same environment collaboration and competition, and creating a community which has developed a passion for intellectual risk. Now, this has been a real success story, which has proven that the concept of Europe is powerful if it can just leverage on two main things: the scale, because nowadays in a globalized world you need the scale, and the other thing is that our depth, the cultural depth, which is using at his benefit the complexity of our history, and which brings together communities which are different and yet very, very able just to reflect on similar cultural history. It has been a success. It has been a success which has helped a lot, helping the concept, the role of Europe in the world, and which has been also one of the few language of peace that mankind has succeeded just to use. And we have example, as Michael was saying, in our beautiful European research infrastructure, which are essentially encompassing a worldwide community in a very successful way. And this has been shown also recently in this COVID-19 crisis, where the European research area has been capable of responding in a very timely and efficient way to the urgent needs by generating, for instance, and articulating the European Research Area versus Corona Action Plan. The other word which is very important is remain in this. Remain is part of the challenge in a world which is rapidly transforming, sometimes so rapidly that we hardly can just reflect the consequences and on the reasons of the change. And in this case, it's easy to try just to import other models, but I'm afraid that we cannot shy away from the need to elaborate an autonomous model in order of development, which is a formidable task, because it is a formidable task in designing a future. And as a really famous colleague of us, which is whose quotation is often abused, the most difficult thing is just to make prediction, especially about the future. But we cannot shy away, and it involves this reflection many different stakeholders. It's a formidable task, I understand, and it involves not only the scientists, not only the entrepreneurs, it involves politics, social science, humanities. There is a need in this moment, not only of scientists, there is a need of philosophers, of social scientists, there is a need of reflecting on what is happening around us. And we cannot do it, sit there and reflect and simply then find a solution and then proceed. We have just to build the ship while sailing. And this is exactly what we need just to do. We started the idea of Attract, started the idea just to contribute a brick to this construction. If you like, our Lego brick, Lego is another European excellence, so to this construction of future. And Attract is a very flexible instrument, as beautifully explained by Michael, which encourages the emergence of new ideas and their application to the society. So we wanted just to do bluntly transfer the good thing of open science to open innovation, because open science the ecosystem of trust has succeeded just to generate a community which shares the same rules, which is fond not only of finding solution and answer, but who is capable of setting questions, which is at the very most important part of this game. This, in our opinion, is a first step, and we want just to proceed on that. The instrument in itself is flexible. It can be applied using other platforms, other enabling platform. It can be applied in different fields, but it retains the idea that you want just to generate something which puts into motion in a flexible and agile way the strength of our capability to generate idea and bring it to the market. We want just to generate appetite for risk. We want to generate appetite for investment. We want just to generate, contribute to generate a vision of the future. There are two important points that you already seen today. This generation of the ecosystem has generated already some results. There is, as you see in the site, a repository of ideas, which is a beautiful place where connection can be made, opportunities can be taken, and essentially connects not only the inventors and the scientists, but connects the investors to the scientists and to the opportunity market. This is one of the places where we are still studying, because this, which is now only the initial part, will need just to evolve to protect intellectual property in a more and more refined way, using, again, technologies, and we are studying it. And the other very important thing is involving young generation in all this process. Because I think that when we are talking about the young generation, which will be the owner of the future and which will have just to face very big challenges like climate change, like sustainability, and much more than us. And we are a bit ashamed of the type of world we are living to them. We have just to never forget about one thing, that we have just to do nothing about them without them, hoping that in the future, nothing without them will be the normal thing. Now, the final thing is that I would like just to say is that in this moment, we are very happy where we are, and we will be very happy if you think that is a valuable thing, but we will be even more happy for everything that the community attending to it will tell us what still can be improved. We are a humble but ambitious bunch of people, and we don't want just to stop here. Thank you very much, and enjoy.
Thank you for these very nice words, also taking us on a geopolitical level, the strategic level, involving the young generation as well, and also giving this sense of inspiration of which world we can create for tomorrow if we all join forces, and also join forces in a system that can also adapt itself to the circumstances. And this was also echoed by Michael and yourself in the context of the pandemic as well. So thanks again, Michael and Sergio, for setting up the scene at a complete other level and putting ourselves really into the motion of the next session that's going to come through the day, where we're going to go into also discussing with the students who are involved in the Attract project, and looking at also the funding mechanism, looking at all the possibilities offered by the Attract portfolio. So this is really inviting to reflect on what we have created, but not only reflect on what we have created and how it can evolve to best serve society in the future.